general obligation bonds from the city.
Right.
In addition to that, the capital campaign committee has asked, I mean, they have committed to raising $1.2 million. Their request was, can we take pledges? In other words, if you wanted to give $100,000, Denny, you have 3, 5, 7 years to complete that
Give him
contribution.
10, everybody else 3.
The power of suggestion.
Yeah.
However, if you give somebody 5 years to pay their pledge, we don't have 5 years to come up with the money to complete the project. So where do we get that money if we accept the pledges? Clearly, accepting pledges makes the job of the capital campaign committee easier because more people are going to likely make contributions exceeding the amount they would if it has to be all in 1 year.
You know, always, or maybe not always, but it seems like with the library, the school, everything, we generally do 3 years. And that seemed,
We had 4 for school.
oh,
The
okay.
3 to 5
I-
years is the easiest. If you get much longer
Yeah.
than that, people will start to lose interest, they forget, you know, there's some concerns that go with that. The second option, if we do not want to have a second referendum, we can issue a GO bond for the portion to be paid without going to a referendum. It's a revenue bond. If it is not paid, if somebody reneges on their pledge, we can take the money from tax dollars, if you will, or from other sources. Let me put it that way. It does carry a higher interest rate, so we're putting more of that money into servicing the debt that we take out as opposed to putting it into the project. We cannot levy taxes for it, so if they don't come in, we have to come up with the money from other sources, such as, I would assume, sales tax or what have you.
What did Burbach tell the committee?
I haven't heard from Burbach on this specifically, one way or the other. The information I have here came from Maggie Berger at Spear. Generally, a 3 or a 5 year pledge is accepted if we're willing to pay the higher interest rate, but that seems to be, in this case, the most practical approach.
I would think 3 years is
Sufficient?
sufficient myself.
I personally think 3.
Okay, but what we need to do is decide which route we're doing, whether we're going to put this as a bond issue or whether we're going to just allow them to take pledges for 3 years based on your second type of a GO bond.
If you put it on the bond issue, the whole thing, and then paid off the bond as people made these pledges, you'd be getting it at a cheaper rate, wouldn't you?
Well, just so I don't get it wrong, let me read Ms. Berger's comment. If we issue all the debt as a general obligation debt, meaning it's backed by the full faith and credit of the taxpayers, we will levy taxes if the pledges don't come in. The issuance would have the lowest interest rate of any type of debt sold. They would structure the portion to be paid with taxes alongside the portion to be paid with pledges, because the length of that, as you said, 3 years versus the, and I can't remember what the term is on the other one, but they would all be part of the same issue, just breaking out the schedules for our internal tracking. We take pledges once or twice a year, make that portion of the payment. We don't know what the pledge is coming in, so we can't use other sources of funding.
Who manages?
But knowing that if the pledges don't come in, we will use other sources of funding, excuse me.
Who manages this?
Ultimately, it'll fall in the city.
City Hall. Yeah.
How did we took pledges on the library, we didn't have we didn't run a separate bond issue for the pledges.
No,
for
I
the
think
library.
in that case and in the school's case, we had bank backing. I was wondering if we had discussed this scenario with any of the banks in town.
No, I have not.
Might be a good idea. That saved us overhead, one thing.
Okay.
So it is our consensus, though, that we want to be taking pledges or having that as part of the committees, allowing them to do some funding.
Well, that was the first question, and the most important is, are we willing to take pledges?
Yeah.
You need to.
I
Makes the
agree.
most sense.
And then, of course, would the consensus be on 3 years?
I think three.
If that's what our average is.
Yeah, well, the hotel and, not the hotel, sorry, library and Heartland Acres, I think, were 3-year pledges. The school was 4.
Okay.
School's a little bit bigger dollar.
And then I'll have that conversation with the banks.
Okay.
That's really the direction I was looking for the committee, and we can go from there. I'll bring it back if we decide we wanted to go to a general obligation referendum. It is a lower interest rate, but I think it creates a different set of challenges, sends a different message. And I know the committee wants to raise the money, and I don't want to take anything away from their desire to raise the funds. Thank you.
Okay. Then we are down to reports. Are there any of the council committees that have reports tonight? Do we have it covered?
I think we already did.
Yeah.
Did that throughout the agenda, okay. We have some department heads here, so Tim, did you have something you wanted to share?
I would just like to say one thing.
You need to come up here if you're gonna do it.